Life's a strange ride packed with twists you never see coming. I reminded myself that night, sitting quietly in the cramped hotel room. Just me and Gary. My husband Logan, being gone in another town for so long, had really worn me down. I missed him, sure, but it wasn't only the distance that hurt. It was the way he'd stopped carrying the cold disinterest that made things worse. Silent evenings were gnawing at my heart. But how on earth could I have guessed that? Asking my stepson Gary to drive me to see Dad would land us trapped in a cheap motel together. One cramped little room with one narrow bed. I didn't see any of this coming. So let me tell you how it all began. Every single moment. Trust me, the ending gets far wilder than you'd imagine. Earlier that day, as I stepped outside, I caught my own reflection in the glass. I looked tired. Yeah, but I still had it, even with Logan leaving me in the dark. I still felt attractive, still felt human. But that lingering ache deep inside was growing stronger. Nothing seemed enough anymore. Not even desire in the kitchen. Gary was scarfing down cereal when I called to him from behind. "You're starting college soon, I know, but you still need more practice with driving. Come on, take me to visit your dad." He glanced up wearing that usual mischievous grin that never left him. Gary was a lovable goof with a sarcastic charm, but he could be a brat sometimes. Sure thing, stepmom. He quipped, but only if you promise to ask Dad for a better car this summer. We'll see. I replied dismissively, pushing him to hurry up inside, though I was just thinking, let's make this trip quick. But I didn't know the drive would go sideways fast. We'd been on the road nearly 2 hours. I was in the back seat flipping through my phone while Gary sang along to a random pop song on the radio, tossing out lame jokes just to make himself laugh. Then suddenly the car gave a loud hiss and stopped cold. "What now?" I asked, trying not to panic. "Looks like we broke down," Gary grunted, steering it to the roadside, obviously irritated. And there we were, stranded nowhere near help. My phone barely had signal, and there wasn't anyone around to save us. We spent hours bickering, calling every repair number online and messing with the engine in vain. Eventually we gave up and agreed on the only realistic plan. Stay overnight at the nearest place available at the motel lobby, while Gary chatted with the bored guy at the counter. I stood silently fuming inside. If Logan finds out, he's going to flip, I thought, but weirdly, in that second, I didn't feel like it even mattered. Much deep down, I had a sense tonight would change everything before things spiral further. Make sure to like and subscribe. Hit the bell so you stay updated. You seriously don't want to miss what's coming. And if you've watched this far, show your love in the comments and those likes. Once we reached the room and turned the knob, all my hopes fell apart. It was tiny, barely enough space to move a single bed, one dusty table, one weak bulb above that made shadows dance on the walls. The ceiling low, the air stale, and the small window stared straight into the parking lot. "This is our room," I muttered, feeling let down. Gary strolled and laughing. "What did you expect? Some resort? Calm down, stepmom. It's just one night." That same playful voice, that same cheeky look, it made me crazy, but somehow lit a strange spark inside. One I couldn't name, and even though I hate it, the truth is, I didn't mind being here alone. With Gary tonight, didn't feel all that terrible. Gary stepped in right behind me, chuckling. "What did you think? We get a fancy resort. We're only staying a single night. Chill, stepmom." That mocking voice and his sly little grin only made my irritation grow stronger. But I couldn't deny that Gary's chilled and relaxed vibe did something to me. A kind of buzz I wasn't sure how to name. "Ugh, this heat is killing me," I grumbled, reaching back to rub my neck. "I swear I need a cold shower or I'll seriously melt." "Go ahead," Gary replied, easily flopping down onto the bed and spreading out like he owned the place. "This is your palace, Carmen. Do whatever you gotta do to settle in." I stared at him briefly. His slim but fit body, paired with the innocent youth still on his face, gave him this odd appeal. I tried to brush off the image fast. He was Logan's boy, after all. My stepson. I stepped into the bathroom and closed the door softly for a few seconds. I just gazed into the mirror. My damp hair stuck against my warm skin, but I still had some spark. I still had that glow flipping the water on. I let it heat and stepped in. hoping to calm this wild energy running through me. I'm 47 years old, I thought, and Gary isn't a kid anymore. He's 22 heading off to college soon. And now here we are stuck in a tiny room together for a couple of nights. The idea both unnerved and intrigued me in ways I wasn't ready to confront. Logan popped into my thoughts. Logan, I meant to visit you, meant to be by your side, and now here I am, trapped with your son, and I don't know how to feel anymore. Steam filled the cramped bathroom as the hot water beat down on my shoulders, my body relaxing slowly, but my mind racing nonstop. Gary's laughter, his calm charm, it sparked a strange fire in me standing under the stream. I couldn't predict what would come next, but I sensed things shifting. Eventually, I decided to head downstairs and breathe, maybe reset myself. I slipped into a light, soft dress, perfect for the heat, and honestly, it helped settle my nerves a little. The hotel's dining room was simple but warm, matching the whole vibe of the place. I ordered something easy, and a small glass of wine, just enough to take the edge off outside. The sun had already dipped behind the horizon, and the lights lining the street shined faintly through the windows. Even as I ate, I kept drifting back to the hotel room, wondering what Gary was doing alone in there. He wasn't exactly the kind of guy who enjoyed sitting still, but his breezy, no-worries energy was messing with me in a way I didn't know how to define. After finishing my wine, I glanced down at my plate and finally headed back upstairs, walking slowly. When I reached the room, everything felt weirdly still. I pushed open the door, and the sight hit me hard. Gary had showered and now laid out on the bed wearing just a robe, clearly passed out his robe loose enough to expose nearly all of his toned chest. Damp hair pushed over his brow, and a quiet grin like he was dreaming. My pulse quickened. I hadn't expected that at all. For a moment, I just stood frozen, near the doorway, not sure how to react. My thoughts were a storm inside. I felt a blush rise, but I couldn't look away. Carmen, this is Logan's son. What's wrong with you? I scolded myself in silence, but my gaze lingered, especially on the robe where it had slipped open slightly. What I saw sent heat flooding through me. The tight space only made things worse. There was no second bed. It was either curl up next to him or sweat it out upright in that awful chair and in this heat. I just couldn't bear the thought of it. I stepped inside slowly. Gary's soft, even breathing, the only sound in the room. I inhaled deep, trying to calm down, but nothing in me felt steady anymore. I had to get my head clear. Okay, Carmen, I whispered. You're just sleeping here for the night. No big deal. This isn't anything real. I wanted to visit Logan, and somehow got stuck like this time to be rational. Keep it together. I moved carefully toward the bed and looked at Gary. The calm expression he wore somehow twisted my chaotic thoughts even tighter. I perched lightly on the edge of the bed, unsure how I'd survive this night. Sometime in the darkness, a quiet noise startled me awake. I barely opened my eyes. Scanning the dim room, I spotted Gary stirring on the mattress. He looked barely conscious, fingers sliding through his hair and lazily scratching his head. I couldn't stop staring, but I kept my eyes only slightly open, pretending I hadn't really woken up inside, though I was completely alert. Then I felt at his gaze. It landed right on me. My pulse quickened. I could sense his attention focused on me. I kept faking sleep, letting my face stay soft and still, but every nerve inside was lit up. Began to undo the knot in his robe, and as it loosened, it slipped off his shoulders, exposing more of that lean young figure, the soft motion of his body set my nerves on fire. I didn't resist watching in that second. I understood two clear things. I wasn't in control of this, and part of me didn't want to be. Gary reached into the wardrobe for a pair of shorts, and as he did, he kept glancing at me like he was testing if I was awake. Those looks thrilled me. I stayed still, trying not to react, but let the moment carry me completely after sliding into his shorts. He didn't lean back down. Instead, he sat on the room's only chair and fixed his eyes right on me. Being stared at like that felt both intense and somehow impossibly magnetic. I remained still, eyes closed, acting like I was still half asleep, but I was burning up inside. The act couldn't last much longer. Eventually, I sat up and met his eyes, carefully keeping my voice steady and true. I said exactly what I was feeling. "You're driving me crazy, Gary." The silence stretched around us, and in that instant I knew nothing could go back to the way it was before. Gary blinked once, then exhaled slowly before he began speaking. "I don't know, Carmen," he said with a quiet calm. "We've been under the same roof for a while now since Dad's been gone, and the more I'm around you, the more this grows. You might not see it, but I can't always hide the way I look at you sometimes. Right now, this whole thing feels unreal." His confession caught me off guard, but it also reached deep inside my chest, Gary. Never broke. Eye contact, his stare full of sincerity and heat completely locking me. "And I need to wake up early to call someone about the car," he continued, though he sounded like he was only half convinced. But his eyes stayed locked on mine, never shifting. Not once. But right now I'm completely wrapped up in this calm, and I've never felt this kind of energy before my heart thundered. I leaned forward and moved onto the nearby chair, facing him squarely, our eyes never breaking the connection that was already too strong for words. We sat wordlessly, caught in the strange electricity between us. Then I let my lips part slightly and held his stare. "Gary," I said softly, my tone a mix of curiosity and daring, "are we actually thinking the same thing?" Gary's eyes grew darker, more intense, like he wasn't just imagining this moment. He was fully living it. No words came from him, but the answer was already glowing in his expression, and right then I knew we had crossed a line we couldn't uncross. Looking at him gave me this sudden wave of wild confidence. And raw need the blend of nervous energy, and want in his eyes only made it harder to pull back. Drawing a slow breath, I began speaking again, each word drawing him closer. "When I walked into the room and saw you, your robe was a little shift in the way your robe had opened caught my attention, and I couldn't look away. It hit me harder than I thought it would. We can't ignore what's happening between us. Not anymore." As those words lingered in the silence, I moved a step closer and slowly stood upright. His gaze tracked my every move, his chest rising faster. I couldn't resist the rush building inside me. My fingers found the tie on my dress, and as I gently undid it, I could hear the shift in his breath growing sharper with each small motion, I think. I whispered voice, soft and low. "Let's balance the moment, Gary." I reached back and unzipped my dress slowly. The fabric eased off my skin and pooled around my feet. The room's cool air kissed my body, making the fire inside flare even more. The way he looked at me told me everything, all curiosity and a longing he wasn't hiding. The silence turned into something real. Something shared, our breathing sinking as I took one more step toward him. Softly, I said, "Now we'll know if we're seeing the same picture." Gary didn't blink, didn't move, except for the subtle rise and fall of his chest. Then he stood tall without breaking eye contact and flipped on the room's light. The soft brightness settled around us as he moved and slid the door lock. My pulse was loud, and my ears like time itself slowed. And there was just us as he stepped close. His hands gently gripped my waist, and that touch sent a wave of heat through me, stronger than before. Silently, he leaned in, eyes flicking to my lips. I didn't stop him. Couldn't all of it felt right, natural, even faded when his lips brushed mine. The tension unraveled like a slow burn, his kiss gentle but filled with a quiet force. I reached up my hands, resting on his shoulders. Absorbing the comfort and intensity, the space between us vanished with each breath we shared. That moment erupted into all the things we hadn't said, Gary's energy and youth mixing with the quiet hunger I had carried inside for so long. It felt like a beginning. Dangerous, but beautiful. That night, we gave in to what was already alive in us. I collapsed back onto the bed, drained, but lit up my breath. Uneven, my foot touched the fabric of the dress on the floor. I felt Gary's gaze steady on me, his presence humming with a quiet fire. He leaned down, picking up the dress, fingertips brushing over where my foot had rested. Even that small moment sent shivers through me. He held the dress for a beat. His expression wavered, then resolved, and with purpose he set it aside. Placing his palms near the mattress, he climbed into bed slowly, as if each movement meant something. As he drew near, his face held everything. He felt pure desire, and something magnetic as I laid back. Against the pillows, his nearness made my heart pound again, breath quickening with every second that passed. When his body leaned in close, the space between us vanished like it was never there. It was too late to pull back. Now the emotion within me was raw, intense, and almost painful. I tilted my eyes to the ceiling, catching sight of Gary's features. I watched as he swept his fingers through his damp hair again. I saw the emotion in his expression. Flush, thrilled, and deeply content. He poured everything into his touch and gaze, and I was overwhelmed by the way he struggled to catch his breath. Gary stirred my heart so much I could almost thank the broken car. "This hotel's unforgettable," Gary said shakily, every word strained like it was drawn from his chest, his eyes fixed only on me but his. Hands trembled faintly, his body locked in place, muscles tight, each motion slower, more intentional, like he was imprinting the moment forever. "I really hope my dad doesn't get rid of the car now," he said softly after those words. He sank down beside me, eyes closed, not speaking as he caught his breath. I was too drained to respond, my entire body unsteady, and I hadn't noticed when sleep took over me by morning. Gary came back with the car working again and told me we'd need to go pick up Logan and head back to the city while we drove. A storm of feelings brewed inside. Regret spun around me. But so did this thrill. And as I glanced at Gary, everything from the way he looked to how he moved pulled at me. It all felt like too much. But at the same time, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I still had no clue how this would play out. I felt torn between racing thoughts and the rush in my chest. Only one truth was clear to me. This trip had become the point where everything shifted if you're still reading. I'm sure this story stirred something, and you don't miss what comes next. Tap follow, hit the bell, and share your feelings below. I'm eager to hear your thoughts.